I want to tell you about an amazing conversation I had with Archangel Michael. It was about time, the sun, and manifestation. Hi, I'm Saratoga Ocean, and I help people to navigate their spiritual awakening and embark on a conscious path of ascension. And if you're new to my channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you are notified every time I produce a new video. Now, I have been functioning as a full-body channel for Archangel Michael and a group of beings known as Telstar for many years. And as you may have heard me say in other videos, I have the ability to see these beings very clearly, and I do have conversations with them. So I have had many conversations with Archangel Michael over the years. And I also refer to him quite simply as Michael or Michael. Now, if you have a special connection to Archangel Michael, then you already know how amazing and beautiful he is. But I want you guys to know that he is also brilliant and practical in so many ways. And he has told me some amazing things in the past that at first I didn't understand at all, but then years later, I would finally realize exactly what he meant. And I'm going to share one of those things with you later on in this video. It's about the subject of timelines and how that relates to manifestation. But first, I want to share with you guys a specific conversation that I had with him just the other day that was really fascinating. It was about time, the sun, manifestation, and experiencing our place in the universe on a very practical level. Now, we were having this conversation because I was asking for some help at shifting my sleep schedule from being a lifetime night owl to shifting it to an earlier schedule, and it's really been a struggle because I've been on that other pattern for so many years. So at one point at the beginning of this conversation, he said to me, "You know that saying that time is money?" He said, "Time is not money, time is life." And this is where it started to get really interesting. He said, time is the space in which you experience your life here on Earth. Now, if you really contemplate that for a moment, you can understand that your experience of life happens in a flow, and that flow of experience is actually the flow of time. They're actually one and the same. And then he said time can also be used to help you keep track of your creation in life, and it can be used to help you focus. And then he brought up the subject of goals, and he explained why people are happiest when they have a schedule of activities designed to meet those goals. He said it's because when you do this effectively, you are actually experiencing that you have direct command of your own life. He said without goals, time controls you. But with goals, you control time. So he said the ultimate goal should be to control time so you thereby control your own life. Isn't that amazing? And then he brought the subject back to nature. He said your activities need to integrate with the world that you live in. And he said he was referring specifically to the sun. Now, this is where it got really, really interesting, you guys. He said the sun is your central star and should never be dismissed, and it should never, ever be taken for granted. So the first place to look if you want to control time is to look towards the sun and your relationship to it. He said that's because everything that relates to your perception of time is sourced within the sun itself. He said without the sun, you would have no idea at all what time it is. Now, recently, Archangel Michael has been talking to me more and more about the sun, and I think this relates to some kind of preparation that we need for ascension, because the sun plays an integral role in our ascension. Anyway, from here he said if you want to get your life under control, you need to start from the foundational platform of your relationship with the sun. And then he said, this is how you begin to experience on a practical level that you actually live in a galaxy and in the universe. And that makes so much sense. He said it's fine to say that you live in the universe, but if that does not become a practical physical reality, it's not going to do a whole lot for you. And then he said that the most basic level of function in terms of our relationship with the sun has to do with our waking and sleeping hours. Are you operating in sync with the Earth's movement around the sun? Are you in sync with the Earth's natural rotation from darkness to light? Now, this reminded me of something he said to me a long time ago, where he said, whatever planet you are on, it is vitally important that you always stay connected to the central star. So in this conversation that I'm sharing with you today, he said that if you want to understand your situation as a universal being on any given planet, then you must begin with assessing your sleeping and waking activities as it relates to your central star. He told me that this is the physical practicality of having what we like to call an extraterrestrial perspective. And that refers to a perspective where we can live in a way that transcends our human planetary situation, which is what gives us a much more empowered experience and a great deal more clarity of exactly what is going on here. Now, he also pointed out to me that none of what he was saying has anything to do with clocks and calendars. He said that those things are merely markers that are necessary in our wholly artificial world. So here's the dilemma as he described it to me. He said that if you are trying to make changes on top of a totally faulty situation, one that in no way acknowledges the sheer power and magnitude of your relationship to the sun, then those attempted changes are resting on top of something that is vastly out of alignment with the core premise of your existence. And then he told me that the people on this earth are totally detached from the real power of their natural situation. He said, we have this gigantic star that promotes all of life here, and it's virtually ignored. Instead, he said, people rely solely on these silly little devices with numbers, bells, and whistles that tell them where they are in their day and what they're supposed to be doing. So he said that this out of alignment factor with our sun is actually quite extreme. So ultimately, he completed what he had to say with this. He said, if you're going to meditate, start with the sun. Do not take it for granted. He said to find your physical, mental, and emotional connection to that star. And then he said something really interesting. He said, because we're going to be needing it. And that was the end of the conversation. Now, he didn't say this outright, but I kind of suspect that this emphasis on the sun really does have something to do with ascension. Now, he has spoken to me very occasionally about the sun in the past, but recently there's a lot more emphasis that he seems to be placing on that topic. Now, whenever I have a conversation with Archangel Michael or with Telstar, there's a lot of communication that is coming through between the lines, between and behind the words. So there was something very powerful being conveyed behind these simple words that he was sharing with me. And I hope that maybe you can pick up on some of that just by what I've said here in this video. Now, I told you at the beginning of this video that I was going to share something with you guys that he told me a long time ago that I couldn't understand before, but I'm starting to understand now. And I'm bringing it up in this video because it also has to do with the subject of time. So the simple explanation is this. He was basically describing to me that at any point, at any given moment in the ever-present of now, whatever is happening, there are an infinite number of potential timelines that expand out from that moment. So we can actually shift direction to a different timeline if we're conscious enough, if we are positioned properly, and thereby determine the outcome or the manifestation that we want to produce. So I really have a growing sense of truly comprehending what he meant by this when he first described it to me. And I was thinking about this in the context of all the world events and the vast changes we're all going through as we go through this ascension process on a global level. And it occurred to me that if we as light workers become very conscious, very positioned in an empowered way and very centered, that perhaps we can start to even have an influence in directing the timelines of how this unfolds. So, for example, let's say there's something going on in the world that's really not very good or not very pleasant. Perhaps we can become conscious enough as light workers, as starseeds, as people undergoing a spiritual awakening, that we can actually position ourselves to have an influence on whichever timeline those events unfold in such a way that things either just disappear or unfold with more grace, more ease, so that it's not quite so intense for everybody on the planet. So this is an idea that came to me recently, and that's why I wanted to share this with you guys. And I think there's definitely a connection to a lot of what Michael was sharing with me about the sun. So here's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering if a greater connection with the sun would improve our ability to consciously shift timelines, not only when it comes to world events, but even when it comes to events in our own personal lives. I have another video about manifestation where I include a little bit about shifting timelines, and you can see that video right here. So the ability to consciously shift timelines, even ever so slightly, when you want to manifest a big change in your life, could be a very important thing to be able to master. So I hope you found this conversation that I had with Archangel Michael about the sun, about time, and about manifestation, among other things, to be thought-provoking. And I can say for myself, I am definitely working on my own experience of everything that he shared with me. So leave me a comment below and let me know if you found this interesting, and also let me know if you would like me to share more videos like this with you if the occasion permits. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it out with anyone else who you think would benefit. And remember to hit that subscribe button and that notification bell so you are notified whenever I produce a new video to help guide you on your spiritual awakening. And with that, I'm sending you loads of love, light, and positive energy. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.